My name's Eli Delaney, and I have the honor of meeting some pretty cool people. These are the entrepreneurs, the artists, the creatives, the game changers that are making a positive impact in the people that they meet. And I'm a firm believer that the people that you meet can get you anywhere you want to go. And this show is my way of sharing them with you. It's my way of also helping you meet cool people. All right, welcome back to another episode of Meet Cool People. Eli here, and today's guest, Jeffrey Casanova. He is a professional sales leader with over 30 years of sales and operational experience in IT, food and beverage, sports, pharma industries. He's worked in over 25 different states in the country. He's just an amazing sales guy. The cool thing is that he calls himself a chameleon, with adaptability as being his superpower. But the reality is, the thing that I know him for is that we met here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area through Success Champions. You've heard me talk about that a couple of times with other guests we've had on here. And he has very quickly become one of my best friends in this area and one of the best connectors I have ever seen in my life, which as a connector is really, really important for me. So with that said, I'm going to bring in my friend, Jeffrey. Thanks so much for hanging out, my friend.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. So the kicker with this is, you have an awesome, amazing sales background, but how did you get started in sales?
Well, it's funny. I think my first retail jobs had to be working at a men's store. I started in the old, supermarkets, trying to sell people stuff from different types of department stores and that sort of thing. But my first real sales job, I would probably have to say, is I got a job selling men's designer suits back in the '80s in South Coast Plaza in California. And that wasn't an easy sale. Some of these suits back then were like $400 to $1,000. Some of these guys were corporate, lawyers, doctors, and so forth, and they wanted some nice stuff for their money. So it was kind of hard. Think of a tie back then, even at $50 was super expensive. So we were selling some high dollar stuff, trying to put an outfit together for some of these professionals, and I think that's kind of where I started to kind of understand how the sales activities work and training and all that good stuff.
So what was it that actually got you into sales? Because most people, when you think of sales, we're in this world where you and I deal with a lot of people that are in business, they're entrepreneurs, but usually when the term sales come up or salesperson come up, they start getting cringy about it. And the great thing is you're one of the good ones. So that's why I wanted you on the show so we could have this conversation. What is it that got you into sales as opposed to shying away from it like so many other people do?
I'm a social person, played a lot of sports, demographically lived so many different places all over the country. I just kind of enjoyed always helping people. Like I said, I worked in some grocery stores back in California. I also umpired a lot as a young man, the little T-ballers when I was 14 years old. So I think it was just really being social with people and being able to be friends with people and building relationships. And I think slowly that kind of shifted me. I was looking for a job, really is what it was. And right back then, all there were retail jobs, right? You're a young man, you're trying to figure it out and get out there. College for me was kind of an iffy thing. I was trying to play baseball through it, had decent grades and so forth, but I was never going to become a doctor or a lawyer or any engineer or architect or professional, although I tried. But I just, it was one of those things where I needed to get a job. And, this was kind of one of the first really cool jobs I could get. Amazingly enough, they brought me in, they kind of trained me a little bit. I became assistant manager within like 3 to 6 months, and even a manager, shortly thereafter. That particular company even made me the assistant buyer, and I was there for quite a few years. By that time, I was only like 24, 25 years old. So it was a pretty cool thing.
That is awesome. And so I brought up something that I think is really, really important. I think we could have a cool conversation around is you are such a connector. And literally just 2 or 3 days ago, I get 2-3 introductions to people from you, and you're doing this all the time. I cannot count the number of people that I've talked to that have told me like, yeah, Jeffrey has connected me with this person and that person and this person. You are such an amazing connector. What is it that, when you're looking at making connections, what is your goal with that?
Really helping people. I'm kind of on a support arm for my family and my friends and so forth. I just really want to support others. It's just easy for me. I look at, a particular contact that comes up, in my feed, and I realize, okay, well, this person has this opportunity to work with something that Eli does or some other person does, and I just connect the dots pretty quickly. I'm able to do that throughout the day, and it's funny. I don't have a time. Sometimes I don't have a time slot, per se, where I'm going to spend, an hour on LinkedIn or at night. Sometimes I just think about it. I write it down. I've got a little book, and then I'll sit down and do it throughout the day. But if I think about it right away and I've got a break in the action with my job or my calls or what have you, I'll say, you know what, let me send them 2 or 3 quick introductions real quick because it's going to leave me instead of having to writing it down and setting a time for it. And I just kind of get it done. What really pushes me really is having those virtual calls, because when I have those virtual calls, I can sit with people and understand, okay, where are they going to go with an introduction? Where can they get fed more of a referral based opportunity? So that's when I start taking notes and I have that virtual call and I said, okay, these are all the people I'm looking for. And I just memorized that. And as I'm going through LinkedIn and working on and doing things, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to introduce this person to Eli. And that's just kind of the way I do it. I think instinctively for me, it's just that I want everybody else to have some type of success. And that kind of makes me kind of feel good that, hey, I had a part in that success. Just like when I was coaching little guys in baseball and they didn't really know how to hit a ball. And, a year later they were hitting balls all over the place. So I think for me, it's just seeing that realization happen. I guess it just warms my heart.
I agree 100%. And it's great because like I come from that background of always making the connections. And it's so funny because you and I use the terms like virtual coffee is such a common thing now. I remember back in the day where nobody understood what that really was. I used to actually do virtual coffees when nobody was doing them. It was still like Skype, I think, was our only tool that was even available. And I'm getting people signed up for Skype to do this. And I would go to the coffee shop early and bring my coffee cup with me. So I had it when I'm on video, they can see my, back then it wasn't a Dutch Brothers cup. It was like, Starbucks or whatever. But that was my virtual coffee. And it's so funny that that has become such a big thing now. But I know that that is something that you utilize as a tool to connect with as many people as possible and figure out how do those puzzle pieces fit together, right?
Yeah, connecting the dots is really instrumental. It's just fun. I get it. I understand how it works. I understand the referral part of it. I understand. I talk to people sometimes. I said, look, it's a third level connection, and they're going to meet. You're going to meet this person, but that person knows that person, and that person knows that person, and it's going to come full circle, and you're going to get some kind of business or something out of it, long stream down the road. So for whatever the reason it works, what I've been doing, it's really just a matter of putting some effort behind it and trying to help people out. But I do know kind of where, if you're drawing that triangle, as they say, and you're putting yourself in the middle, which way do you go in regards to who are the people that can help you? I just kind of had that mindset in my brain, and it clicks for me.
Yeah, it works out so well. And you do it brilliantly. I mean, I know we've had, let's see, Jennifer Loading has been on our show. That was an introduction from you.
Mm,
Bravis Brown, obviously. That was an introduction from you.
sure.
Let's see who else has been on the show so far. I mean, we've had several people that have been on the show, and a lot of these people have been guests from you. And it's really cool because, like, I spent 15 years where I wasn't doing a whole lot in the local area. I was doing virtual, I was speaking across the country, all that kind of stuff. So the people that I met were not here within driving distance. And the cool thing is we still do the virtual coffees because it's more efficient, but we get together in person too, which makes it even better. It's like that's where we get to hang out and actually get to know each other.
And it's almost a little bit of almost like a responsibility level, joining Success Champions Networking, as you know, and being a chapter president. I've got a group of people that are counting on me. So I take that to heart and try to figure out a way, how can I make my chapter, my group, my friends a lot better, and how can I grow their business from that standpoint. So there is a little bit of accountability there for me as well, not only for my chapter, but for other chapters as well, because I know I've sent a lot of people to other chapters to see if they can kind of fit in those groups, and hopefully in some cases that does kind of work itself out in some
Mhm.
cases. But my whole thing is if I can see $1 million deal happening and it's because of my connections, man, that's so cool. I mean, it's even if I don't get anything out of it, that's not what it's about. It's just knowing that, wow, I did that, and because of that, some people are going to reap some benefits. I just love it.
Well, and the cool thing about it is, like, as somebody who's spent most of his life as a networker and as a connector as well, I always look at it as the fact that I know all the things that I'm doing, all the people that I'm connecting today. It's going to come back at some point. Don't know what it's going to look like. It may or may not be the same person. You're doing a $1 million deal. You're connecting two people to do $1 million deal. If they need an IT person, they're probably going to give you a holler, or at least consider
I
it at,
sure hope
at
so. I sure
minimum.
hope so.
you know, but that's the cool thing about it, is there are so many people that are very much into, they're in pitch mode all the time, and it's all about the sale. And you go about it exactly the opposite of that. I've seen every introduction that I have seen from you, not just in personal introductions between me, but like conversations you've had with other people that I've been there with. You lead it from a place of, who are you? What do you need help with? And how can I connect you with somebody? And that's the way that I've always looked at it. And it's great to find other people like yourself that are actually, they think that way. And the cool thing is, you come at that place of, it'll come back. You don't have to do this. It's not about the sale. It's about, yeah, the sale will happen. We're in business. We want to make money, but do enough good, get out there, be kind, show respect, help people out. They're going to remember you.
It's a big karma thing, and one of the things I put in the when I was doing the bio in the questionnaire, you probably noticed that phrase I wanted to get into called the ball nose.
Yeah.
I actually started a small little company that kind of added that to it. And really, what that really means is my baseball coach was really hard about practicing and doing the things you needed to get done. And a lot of times when we were out there, if you swung and missed or you couldn't feel the ground ball or something was happening, he would yell at you, the ball knows. The ball knows when you're not doing the things you need to do to be successful. And that's kind of a karma thing type situation. So, I try to continuously, know that if you keep doing really good stuff, eventually it's going to come back. It's just a karma thing that I believe in, and I think sometimes you don't realize how blessed you are in some of the things that you are getting and that's coming your way, along with challenges and some hardships in some cases. But all in all, it's good stuff, and that's why I do it, because I want to make sure that I feel good about myself when I wake up in the mornings.
That is awesome. I love it. Very cool. Now, as the leader of the group that I'm part of for Success Champions, this isn't a pitch for SCN, although for anybody listening, definitely reach out to one of us. We're happy to share, because it is a great organization. But as the leader of our group, you have stepped up and you stand out more than anybody else as the person who's trying to just make sure that everybody gets help, gets the support. And I want to acknowledge that at first, but I would love to hear your thoughts as a leader. What are your thoughts going into that kind of position? And what are the kind of things you would recommend for other people that are looking at, doesn't even have to be an organization, but even within their own business? As a leader, what does it take?
Well, I think you have to have a knack for coaching, right? And for wanting to see others improve and help them, connect the dots, as we kind of keep saying. It's easy for me. I guess, in some cases I had some opportunities to work with some few individuals that weren't the greatest in regards to some of the things that were happening. And it's one of those things where I take accountability. I take a lot of pride in being a really good coach, and being president of that chapter, and making sure that I'm taking care of everybody. For me, my character, my word, what I stand for is very huge. It's a big deal in my family. It's a big deal for me. I'm a father of 3 sons, so I want to make sure that I'm leading by example.
That's awesome. Love it. And you bring up the coaching side. Let's talk a little bit about that stuff for a bit. Tell me a bit more. You are doing coaching, or you have, tell me about
I
that.
Sure. Well, when I was 14 years old, I started coaching T-ball. So T-ball is like 4 or 5 years old, and I
Okay.
started working in California at an association. And what they were doing is it was basically a mentoring program for the older kids that are 14 to through high school or so. So that they would mentor the kindergartens, the first grade and second grade. And Newport Harbor baseball back in the day was really big on that. We got to learn how to umpire, deal with individuals as adults, got to learn the game, understand the rules, all sorts of stuff, clean the fields, put bases down, take inventory of equipment. I mean, it was a really a great learning experience. So that's kind of how I started the coaching side of it. When I was 4 or 5 years old, I fell in love with baseball. My grandfather sat me down, and all he talked about was the old Brooklyn Dodgers and all the things that they did back in. They used to winter leagues would go back in Cuba, where they're from originally. He would tell me all these stories and so forth. So baseball to me was just an apparatus to work and teach and understand the game and the complexity of it, and then really help all the kids with throwing the ball correctly, all the mechanics behind it, whether you're hitting, fielding, or throwing, and really understanding the game. What is the mentality of? I'll give you a perfect example. How do you turn a double play into a triple play when you've got people on base? When the ball's hit to either right field or left field. Or the ball's hit to third or to short. Where are you going to move your players? What's the next move, and so forth, to try and get an out and play defense. On offense, do you want to bunt with a guy on first and get him over to second? How do you get him to third? Just strategic type stuff. And I just fell in love with that side of it. And what I did is, as a young coach and as an older coach, when I coached all the way through 18 and 19-year-olds, all the way through up over the last 10 years. I've kind of got away from that. But as I was coaching, I really got to teach them the game of baseball from the mental side, how to execute certain plays. And I did that all the way through. I would take a very average or below average team in the season. These were probably 8 to 12-year-olds. And by the end of the season, we were probably one of the top teams in the area, because we'd learn the fundamentals, we'd learn how to play baseball, and we'd learn how to execute and do all the little things to win ball games. And that's kind of the coaching side of it. Seeing a kid being able to do that thing, all of that, and being able to be successful at the end of the year, and give himself an opportunity to play at the higher level or get to high school and even get to start. That was a cool thing for me to do. And I still have actually kids that went to college and moved on that I still get in contact with, saying that and still keep up with me. And it feels good to know that they're thankful for the information and the tutelage that I gave them during those sports years.
That is very cool. And it's going to lead me to my next question with that. Fast forward all these years, how many of those kind of lessons, the things that you were doing back then that you learned, are you using in day-to-day life now?
Oh, every day. I mean, you have to be, you have to have accountability. You got to be responsible. You've got to be adaptable, flexible, and at the same time, you have to be very organized, and you have to keep a schedule. I think all those things kind of play where you're creating a puzzle and you're putting the pieces together. I've been doing that, every single day for the past 20 to 30 years in my jobs. I started as a salesperson from direct sales all the way to multi-level selling type situation, where I was working all the way up to corporate. And like you mentioned, I sold pharmaceuticals, I sold food and beverage, I worked retail. I've done IT, which I'm currently in right now. So basically, just a little bit of everything. Very fortunate to have those different industries, because you get to deal with different type of people. Not only that, but my travels throughout the country. Everybody's different from every part of the country, and they all think and live differently and work differently. So that was a great education for me to have that in my background.
Now that is awesome. And I love the fact you brought up the fact that different locations, like people are going to be different in that area. Cause a lot of times we live in a small world, even though we're a very connected world. People tend to forget that even across a state line, personality is very, very different. It's your upbringing is different. The way of life is very different. And so I think that's something that you probably had a really good you had a great education. I was trying to think of a different word, and a different word just wasn't quite right. But I think education is a good fit for it. Of being in that environment to have the ability to do that and see that, because if you're doing sales in 25 different states, people's personality and how they deal with sales is very, very different. I know from, before I moved here, I was in Portland, Oregon. From moving there to here, the psychology and the language of talking to people just in general, let alone in a sales conversation, are like night and day different. And so many people don't even realize that. And so it's great that you have that skill.
Well, and think about Texas, how different that is from Oregon, right? The needs of the people and those demographics are completely different. You're talking about if you can even take weather into account, right? The economy, the politics behind it, and so forth. So, you have to kind of, like I said, kind of be almost like a chameleon. And I try to adapt as much as possible and work with those people and understand, what value can I bring them in their current state, because I think that's really important. I think in sales, a lot of time you go into a situation where you're trying to be a solution provider, and you have to find out what the real problem is, what's the crux of it, because when you go from prospect to prospect, doesn't matter where you are, it's going to be different for people. The pain threshold is going to be different from, let's say, the office manager to a CEO, another way, anything in between. So you have to figure out, where is the real pain and where are they going to be coming from in regards to understanding what type of value you can bring them. I think that's always the key. And as you know, in the field that you're in and being in sales and business development, you just got to keep asking questions and build that rapport with people. I think that's significant, really, in just any walk of life.
Very, very true. So you're into IT now, right? So let's talk a little bit about that industry. What kind of
hmm
stuff do you do? What type of clients are you working with?
Well, mostly we actually have some pretty good verticals. We started the company in manufacturing, and then into construction, and then into the nonprofits, which really ekes out more to what the churches are about. The company's been around 26 or 27 years ago. A gentleman by the name of Greg Zimmerly started the company. He was with EDS back in the day, started it as a young guy, and now it's 27 years old, and here we are with 18 people and what have you.
Nice.
So it's managed services provider is very, very unique. You're trying to build really a technical plan, or as I would call it, a technology plan, but you also have to affix it to a budget. You've got to create an environment where you're taking an inventory, you're taking a physical audit, you're putting things together and understanding how do all the peripherals, all the equipment, all the hardware, as you want to call it, go with the technology that's in place, which would be your software applications and everything that's going on. Add on top of that, now you've got to deal with security because people are trying to get into your email and you're having issues with downloads and what have you. You got to have to be careful with that. So, about 5 years ago, I think we kind of were cybersecurity, I would say 5 years ago, has just become this huge platform now where it's like everybody's worried about it and you got to do something about it. And not only do you have to be a proactive situation, but you also better have a recovery plan because you're going to get hit and it's going to happen. And that's really important, is to have all those pieces together with a good sound technology plan that no matter what happens, you can pivot and move side to side or move forward with your growth and so forth.
Right. That is awesome. And so, quick question with that: the type of clients you work with, couple of things, and I'm putting this out there for people who might be interested as we get to this piece. Um, what types of businesses, as far as like, if you are small business working out of your home, just yourself, and maybe an assistant with a computer, is that somebody that you help?
No, we're definitely in the 20 workstation type field. So, brick and mortar type situations,
Okay.
small to medium sized businesses. We'll do under 20, but usually our clientele, our meat and potatoes is probably going to be in that 50 to 70 workstations
Okay. So much more
that
on the
they have.
corporate side.
Yeah, exactly. We don't look at employee size. We don't look at the revenue dollars and so forth. We always look at how many seats
Got
they're
it.
going to have. And we've got clients that have gone as high as 200 to 250 seats in some cases. So we can get into that ball game. We've got the infrastructure. We have the tools. We have the experience. We've got the certification to really ramp up a company that's going to be 10, $20 million, whatever they are, maybe $50 million. But workstations is workstation. You just put a plan together, whether you've got 50 workstations. Our owner will even tell you this: 50 workstations and 100 workstations. You got a plan. You're going to do the exact same thing.
Right.
It's just going to be a little bit more expensive because you've got more people you've got to account for, and that's really the crux of it.
Got it. Okay, that makes sense. And I wanted to just clarify that because I know you guys do a lot of different stuff, and I wanted to make sure that we were in the right boat as far as who are the right people for you from that particular aspect of it. And you've done. I mean, it's always amazing when you and I have talked about all kinds of stuff and how the technology is. It's always changing. There's always new stuff going on. Especially you brought up the cybersecurity stuff. Just real quickly, and I want to go into too deep of a detail on this, but what are some of the things for those smaller people that are just kind of figuring it out on their own? What are a couple of the important things that they should know on the cybersecurity side, just on a basic level?
Really just having a plan and having some kind of training awareness and understanding, what is cybersecurity? What are some of the modalities that you have to work with? That you've got some for, like, let's say HIPAA and DoD and so forth, that you have to have some kind of a system put in place for those. There are certifications for that. There's also CMMC, which is really all the manufacturing that has to deal with the DoD. So there are some certifications that you probably want to get into. Cybersecurity, you just have to be mindful of the emails you're getting, not clicking on weird websites and so forth. Those are the ones that are the most common. Or if something gets infected through something that you downloaded, like an application that you weren't not too comfortable, from that standpoint. Those are just little things on cybersecurity you have to work for. But the reality of it is you want to continuously understand how are they getting in and why are they getting in, and that's what we do with security training awareness.
Nice, and it's really important. You brought up a very important thing. Watch the stuff like, what emails are you opening? Do they, be careful before you even open them, but obviously really pay attention before you click the links, because that's usually where they get you.
Yep.
I mean, that's one of the big ones. And more importantly, making sure you got everything backed up someplace else as well.
Sure.
It's just simple things like that.
There are a ton of tools. Multi-factor is one of them. You've got password protection, identity, and so forth. Those are the two big ones that right now that we recommend everybody gets. And then you've also, unfortunately, you have to look at cyber insurance as well, just in case something does happen. You have to have a program in place to find out, okay, what's going to be covered, and what are the different things? Who do I need to call? What's my checklist that I'm going to go through when something bad does happen? And you definitely want to have a managed services provider on your side as your backstop to make sure that you're not going to have any major issues or have some kind of liability moving forward, not only for yourself, but you've also got your clients and vendors and so forth. And that just kind of keeps moving on. That moves the needle, keeps the needle moving that way.
No, I hadn't even thought about the insurance side of it. So that's a good little tip for people to kind of look into that. So thank you. Awesome. Okay. So we are going to start wrapping up here. And I usually end this with two questions.
Okay.
Second to the last question. What does meet cool people mean to you?
For me, it's about learning new opportunities, new jobs, new hobbies. What are some of the people doing out there that I'm not doing? And I think that's cool. I mean, anything I can learn from somebody, or they're doing something different, whether it's in work, a hobby, something fun. It could even be a restaurant or what have you. I'm a foodie. I'm a wine guy. I love the outdoors. I love traveling. So for me, it's more about the personal touch and meeting those cool people and what they're doing, and learning from them.
That is awesome. And I didn't realize that you were a wine guy. So we need to go to Messina Hoff at some point, because I've been dying for somebody to go hang out there with me.
Okay.
Let's do that. That was the very first place when I came to Dallas to speak it was November 2021.
Mm-hmm.
The host of the event, Tim Gillette,
Sure.
actually had he has a membership over there, and he took us to downtown Grapevine, and we went
Sure.
to one of the tastings over there, and it was just a fun experience. It was really cool.
Well, I'm going to give a little plug for the city that I live in. So
Okay.
Roanoke just opened up a winery.
Okay.
Um, we definitely need to go. Definitely need to go there. And you mentioned Messina, so they're Bingham. So it's, in fact, there. This is a really cool place because you could do a wine tasting and a networking meeting. So you can kind of do both of them. Bring some people in. It's a really a cool place to get some
Nice.
education. And it keeps that sales pitch away from it. So we just had a meeting with a buddy of mine from Insperity, Matt Venegas, and he brought us all in. Bravis was there, along with some of the other people. Courtney Moeller was there. There's quite a few different people that were there.
Mhm.
Got a chance to be, and you know some of these individuals as well. So it was just fun to talk shop with all of them while you were learning about wine and drinking a little bit of some really good vino, as they say.
That is cool. I love it. That is awesome. Okay, so last question. People are going to want to check you out, find out more about you, what's going on, and obviously hear about your baseball stories, because if you have any of that going on, of course, they're going to
Sure.
be entertained by that. What is the best way for people to get a hold of you?
Well, you can definitely try me on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active there. Just it's Jeffrey O. I'm not going to tell you what the O is unless we're in person. Last name is Casanova, but you can look me up on LinkedIn there. Obviously, my email address is jeff@myit.com. And that's pretty simple. I mean, those are the kind of two ways. If go to Success Champs' networking is another one. You can see a lot of what the events and all the programs that we're doing on the website or on LinkedIn. And mid-market professionals. We're also a sister. In fact, I believe you on Thursday, sir, are going to be
Yep.
speaking at the Mid-Market Professionals West side with Jack Kearney and the folks out there.
Yep.
So that's going to be really cool to see everything you've got in your bag of tricks from your professionalism in the networking marketing world and how to follow up with people and so forth and how to keep that wheel rolling, right?
Yep.
As you call it. What's that famous line that you tell everybody about you long after you're gone? Come on, say it because it's a great line.
All
It's a
right.
great
So
line.
I get a lot of pushback on this one. So I try not to say it as much, but I know some people love it. So my running joke is I could go outside and get hit by a bus today and still sell you stuff for 3 more years.
There you
That
go.
is,
Perfect.
when you got your follow-up system set up the way it's supposed to be, that's what can happen. And I always preface that or precede that with, I do look both ways twice before crossing any roads, and I stay away from buses like the plague. So we're all good.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
and I want to do one last little plug on that. That event that I am speaking at on Thursday was also because of an introduction between you introducing me to Jack at one of our events, and that's how I got connected with him.
Yep.
So
No,
awesome! Thank you so much, my friend. It has been a pleasure having you come hang out with me today, and I knew we were going to have a lot of fun. You are, like I said, you're probably the best connector that I know in this area for sure, and you're definitely one of the best that I know in my entire life. So,
thank you, sir. Really helps me feel good about that. I take pride. I really do take pride in that. I'm not trying to be number one connector or anything like that. But listen, I just want to be a friend to everybody and sharing successes with everybody and help each other out. I mean, that's what we're here for. You know, it's a blessing. That's all I can say.
awesome. Well, thank you so much. Everybody listening, be sure to connect with Jeffrey and get out there. Have an amazing week. And I look forward to talking to you soon. Take care. And that wraps up another Meet Cool People show. Now, if you like what you heard, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, or review so I can help introduce these amazing cool people to even more amazing cool people. And just remember, meeting cool people is just the beginning. You need to have a system in place to follow up with the amazing people that you meet. This is exactly what we do for our clients. If you'd like to see if my team and I can help you, go to followuprockstar.com and check out the case study video to see exactly how we're helping our clients turn casual connections into cash clients for life. Again, go to followuprockstar.com and we'll see how we can work together to turn you into a follow-up rockstar.